trying to put me through some kind of an anxiety here, thinking, how will I remember to even give a class on everything I was going to say? But we'll just start over. Thank you so much again for waiting, and it's so nice to have everybody's association. Om Gana Timarandasya Gana Gana Shalakaya Chaksu Militanyana Kaismai Shri Guruve Namaha. So I'm not even sure how to work her phone, but at least I can see all of you.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Before you start, at least for the audience who are on Zoom, probably a lot of people might know we also are live on Facebook. Just want to give few words so that at least they get a glimpse of your services to Srila Prabhupada. So Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining the Sunday virtual class today. So we are very, very fortunate to have Krishna Priya Mataji joining us to enlighten us on the Govardhan Lila. She's a very senior member of the community, and she got in touch with devotees in New York first time when she was in Woodstock Festival. I think that was the very first year that they were doing, and Krishna planted the seed in her, heart at that time. But after that, she didn't have much touch with any devotees. But when she's in Gainesville in a college, she has opportunity to go to one of the preaching center, and from that point onward, she made a lot of progress. And she's a student of psychology, and she's involved in yoga, meditation, exploring Eastern traditions. And when Srila Prabhupada had come to speak in 1971 in the campus, she missed the opportunity to meet Srila Prabhupada because she was out during the summertime. But in 1974, when she was living in California, she started reading books and chanting japa, especially books of Srila Prabhupada. And in 1976, Prabhupada was, giving like 2-week discourse and classes in LA Temple, and she was very fortunate to hear for the full 2 weeks from Srila Prabhupada. And from that point, she became, very connected to Srila Prabhupada. And unfortunately, we all know Srila Prabhupada had to leave the planet in 1977, and Mataji was initiated in 1978 by His Holiness Hridayananda Swami in Miami, Florida. And she served in Florida until 1985, and she came to help Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj on the temple New Goloka in Hillsborough, North Carolina. So, and once the deities were installed, she did a lot of services for the deities and also into management under the guidance of His Holiness Veera Krishna Goswami Maharaj. So at this point, she's not into the management, but she definitely connected to the Lordship through her deity services. So Mataji, thank you so much for giving us your time. So we are very eager to hear about Govardhan Lila. Please take it from here. Thank you.
So we'll start as we normally start with Jaya Radha Madhava, because here we know that Srila Prabhupada, he was so connected to Govardhan and to the Holy Dham. And without Srila Prabhupada's mercy, many of us here in the West, we wouldn't even know anything about Giriraj or know anything about Vaishnava culture, Gaudiya culture, Vrindavan. So we're very indebted to Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada would always sing Jaya Radha Madhava before all of his classes, and he said it was a window to the spiritual world. And we'll see within Jaya Radha Madhava is Giri Govardhan. So we'll just sing briefly, and then since we've spent so much time trying to figure out how to get online, which actually I do go on the Zoom all the time. My friends give Zoom classes. I go on Zoom, but there seems to be some kind of difficulty the last day going on with the internet here. So I have no idea what happened. But so I will keep my chanting short, and then we'll get on with the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Hava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhan Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhan Hari Yasodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhan Hari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari. Hare Krishna. Om Gana Timirandasya Gana Gana Shalakaya Chaksu Militanyana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Giriraj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So when the Ditya Prabhu first asked me, not Ditya, excuse me, Dvaipanda Prabhu, first asked me if I wanted to give class sometime on the Orlando Zoom, I was excited about it and to have the opportunity during this time because we're not traveling very much because of the different changes taking place. So I was thinking how nice it would be to give class. So when he first gave me the date a while back, I hadn't looked at the calendar, and then I saw it was Govardhan Puja. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is such an opportunity to have the opportunity on this auspicious day to be able to glorify Giri Govardhan. So of course, we always feel insignificant and unqualified to even begin these kathas. So we always pray at the lotus feet of our Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, our Diksha Gurus, our Shiksha Gurus, and to all the Vaishnavas to please bless us so that we can give some katha on these very important topics. This is a festival of joy. It is a festival of happiness. It's the day after Diwali, which is a festival of joy and happiness and light. So it's a very beautiful festival and a very beautiful pastime where Krishna does teach us some very important points, which we'll discuss about. He teaches us about the importance of humility, and we'll see that in the pastime, the importance of humility. And he teaches us about having one-pointed determination that our only protector, our only shelter is Krishna. So today I was going to just give a little history of Giriraj. And then after that, I was going to speak about the beautiful pastime, although many of us are familiar with this pastime, but on these days, on these festival days, if we go into the pastime, then we have the opportunity to go to Vrindavan. We have the opportunity to go to Govardhan Hill and to associate with the Brajavasis. So as I said to begin with, what would I have known about Govardhan Hill? So I wanted to actually start today's class first at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. For Srila Prabhupada gave us the nectar of instruction, which is a very, very, very important literature that was given to us. And it is the English version, actually, of Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita. So Srila Prabhupada actually published this very early on. I believe it was 1974. And I remember the first time I read this, I had no idea, like, what was Mathura, what was Govardhan, what was Vaikuntha. But by hearing from a pure devotee who had such love and such a taste for Krishna, such love for the holy Dham, It planted a seed within my heart. I want to know about this Vrindavan. I want to know about this Govardhan. And this is the beauty of Srila Prabhupada's books, is that when someone gets a book of Srila Prabhupada, it plants a seed in the heart. And that seed in the heart, it gives one a desire. It gives one a lowly and a greed. Let me know. So before speaking about the history of Govardhan and the pastime of Govardhan Lila, out of respect for our Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, I'm going to read text 9 from the Upadeshamrita. Vaikunta Shakino Varamadupuri Chapati Rasotavat Brindaranyan Udarapani Ramanatha Papiko Vardana Radha Kunda Iapi Gokulapate Pranunapta Palavat Koyat Asyavirajito Giritate Sevam Viveki Nakaha. The holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikunta, the transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. Superior to Mathura Puri is a transcendental forest of Vrindavan because of Krishna's Rasa Lila pastime. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes. And above all, the super excellent Sri Radhakund stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarine prema of the Lord of Gokula, Sri Krishna. Where then is that intelligent person who was unwilling to serve this divine Radhakund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? So I'm going to read a little bit of Srila Prabhupada's purport, and then we'll continue on with our class. The spiritual world is 3/4 of the total creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is the most exalted region. The spiritual world is naturally superior to the material world. However, Mathura and the adjoining areas, although appearing in the material world, are considered superior to the spiritual world because the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself appeared at Mathura. So we all know Krishna appeared in his full form as Krishna in Mathura and had his beautiful pastimes in Braj. The interior forests of Vrindavan are considered superior to Mathura because of the presence of the 12 forests, Dwadasavana, such as Talavan, Madhuvan, and Bahuvan, which are famous for the various pastimes of the Lord. So usually this time of year, many devotees are going to Vrindavan and going to where these beautiful pastimes take place to associate with the Lord. But superior to these forests is a divine Govardhan Hill because Krishna lifted it like an umbrella, raising with his beautiful lotus-like hand to protect his associates, the denizens of Raj, from the torrential rain sent by angry Indra, king of the demigods. It is also at Govardhan Hill that Krishna tended the cows with his cowherd friends, and there he also had rendezvous with his most beloved Sri Radha and engaged in loving pastimes with her. Radhakund at the foot of Govardhan is superior to all because it is there that the love of Krishna overflows. Advanced devotees prefer to reside at Radhakund because this place is a site of many memories of the eternal loving affairs between Krishna and Radharani. So Srila Prabhupada, at a very early time, he introduced us to Govardhan, to Radhakund. And in his Krishna book, he introduced the world to Krishna's beautiful pastime of lifting Govardhan Hill. Prabhupada was very expert at, besides giving the Lila, he gave the Siddhanta, so that we wouldn't think that these are just ordinary pastimes taking place between young boys and young girls. So we always stress these are not lusty affairs. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And yet we see when Krishna is in Vrindavan, when he's with Nanda Baba and Mother Yasoda, although he does so many miraculous things, For them, he's their hometown boy, their Krishna. So this Govardhan hill pastime, not only does Krishna lift the hill to save his devotees, to show them that he is their only shelter, their protector, but he also lifts this hill because he is the original enjoyer. And he reciprocates with the devotees in very beautiful, beautiful, loving pastimes. And so within this Lila, the different devotees, according to their different relationship with Krishna, they get to interact with him. So the question might be asked, what is the origin of Govardhan Hill? So there's many different ways that one can look at these different topics. And I'm just going to read a few different places that I read from. I'm not going to go into great detail. I'm also going to mention that some see Govardhan as being Krishna directly himself, which is in the scripture, and also some see him as the greatest devotee, which was given to him by Srimati Radharani, it's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So now we're going to speak a little bit about the appearance of Govardhan and Braj. So it is also explained that actually one day Radha and Krishna were in Goloka Vrindavan in the spiritual world. And Radharani, she had a desire to be able to enjoy with Krishna within a very beautiful place with beautiful lakes and waterfalls and groves and caves. And so from Krishna's own body, from his love for Srimati Radharani, he manifested Govardhan. And Govardhan was becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So it was going to take over everything. So then Krishna slapped Govardhan in the back. No, you've got to stop here now. So Govardhan stopped in that size. So Govardhan became the beautiful place of pastimes within the spiritual world for Radha and Krishna, and that Govardhan is a manifestation of Krishna's own love for Radharani. So then it is also explained that what happened was when Krishna was told to come to this world, the material world, to be able to annihilate the demons and reestablish Dharma, etc. He was coming down to this world at the request of the demigods. But then what happened was Srimati Radharani was asked by Krishna to come. I want you also to come with me to Bomba Vrindavan. I want you to come. And she's like, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave my beautiful places of pastime. So the only way I will come with you, Krishna, is that if you bring Braj, if you bring Vrindavan, if you bring the forest, if you bring the Yamuna, the Kalindi, and if you bring Giri Govardhan, because Giri Govardhan is the most beautiful place for the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, with so many lakes and trees and fruits and flowers. So then Krishna said, so be it. So then it's explained that Govardhan would come. So also we see that there are some other pastimes in relationship. One that everyone is pretty familiar with is that in the Adi Varaha Purana, during the advent of Ramachandra, we know that the monkeys were very busy collecting stones and mountains to make a bridge to go to Lanka for Lord Ram to cross. Of course, Lord Ram could have crossed on his own, but for the pastime, he was playing the part of a human and was engaging these different living entities. So Hanuman, he always likes to do everything bigger and better than everybody else. So he flew off and he picked up a whole mountain, and that mountain happened to be Govardhan. And then when he was flying with Govardhan to bring him there, he heard a voice in the sky, and the voice said, Hanuman, we have enough. You do not need to bring. There is no need for you to bring anything else. And so he's like, oh, well. So he was putting Govardhan down, and Govardhan became very upset. You're putting me down. I wanted to go and serve Ram. I wanted to serve Ram. I wanted him to step across of me. I wanted to be a part of the bridge, you know. I wanted to serve Ram. And then and at that point, Govardhan could have actually cursed Hanuman, but Hanuman said to him, don't worry. In the Dwarpa Yuga, you will get to be in Vrindavan. And not only that, but the Lord will have loving pastimes on you. And not only that, not only will the Lord step on you, but the Lord will lift you with his own lotus-like soft hand and hold you within the sky for his pastimes. So be it. So that was the one pastime. And then there's another pastime that's related. That one time, Lord Krishna's father, Nanda Baba, he was talking to his brother Upananda and Sunanda, and he was wondering, how did Govardhan appear here in the sacred land of Braj? Because Govardhan is supplying all the grasses. It's where the cows go to graze. It is the life of the Brijavasis that are people herding the cows. How did Govardhan get here? So then he says, well, actually, this question was also asked by King Pandu. And he asked this very question to Bhishma Dev. And Bhishma Dev gave the following narration from the Garga Samhita. So one day in Goloka Vrindavan, Lord Krishna informed Srimati Radharani that she should now appear in earth, as was time for them to perform the transcendental pastimes within the material world. So this is what I spoke about recently. So then what happened was he agreed it would come, but after that incident, what happened was there was a great mountain named Drona, and his wife gave birth to this beautiful mountain, Govardhan. Govardhan became very famous and was the king of all mountains. So when we recite these pastimes, you have to take yourself out of your normal realm of understanding. Mountains were different in those days. They used to fly. They had all kinds of activities. So just allow yourself to absorb in the pastime. So what happened is, at one time, this sage Muni was traveling through, and he saw this famous mountain, Govardhan, which everybody loved. And he thought, it's so boring, it's so boring where I live. And, in Banari's case, he was an impersonalist. I think it's flat there, it's boring. Why don't I just bring this nice mountain, and then I can perform my meditation there very nicely. So he went and he asked, this took place in the beginning of Satya Yuga. He went and he asked Drona, can I take your son with me to Kashi, to Benares? And he was feeling like, my son, the same kind of feeling we know that Ramachandra, when Ramachandra was asked to be taken from his father was like, my son. So he was thinking, my son, I can't let my son go. But then Govardhan was very concerned that his father would be cursed. Oh my gosh, my father would be cursed. So Govardhan was very tricky, actually. Govardhan said, I will go with you under one condition. Wherever you put me down, that's where I will stay. So he said, all right. So then by his mystic power, he was flying through the air and he was carrying Govardhan. And then they came near the area of Braj, where actually it was predicted that Krishna's pastimes would take place on Govardhan. So at that point, by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, all of a sudden, this saint, he had a traveling yogi, he had a call of nature. And he's like, oh my gosh, I have to stop. So he had to go, Platsamuni had to stop. He forgot about, even the boon he had given. So he stopped to go in to use the restroom. Then when he came back, when he tried to lift Govardhan, Govardhan made himself so heavy, it was impossible to move him, absolutely impossible. And he was very upset. So he cursed Govardhan. You should shrink the size of one mustard seed every year. So we know that Govardhan has gotten much smaller over time. So that's how Govardhan fulfilled the desire of Radharani, actually, and Krishna's words, and came to Vrindavan, where all these beautiful, beautiful pastimes will take place. So I also wanted to read from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then we'll go into Govardhan Lila. And we have been studying in our Srimad Bhagavatam class in Hillsborough, North Carolina. We have been studying the 10th canto, chapter 21, text number 18. So this is a very wonderful, wonderful chapter. It is the gopis glorify the song of Krishna's flute. In this chapter, the gopis, they're feeling so much separation from Krishna, and they're seeing how beautiful is Vrindavan after the autumn, and how all the different living entities are able to serve Krishna. But they are so unfortunate that they're being held back by their husbands and their family members. And we'll see actually in Govardhan Lila how Krishna fulfills their desire to be able to live with Krishna for one whole week under the hill. So this is, Krishna is accomplishing so many things in this Lila. So I'm going to read to you about Govardhan from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hantayam adya abala hari dasavaryo yar Rama Krishna charana sparsha pramodaha manam tanoti saha go ganayos tayoryat paniya suyasa kandara kanadan murai. Of all the devotees, this Govardhan hill is the best. Oh, my friends, this hill supplies Krishna and Balaram, along with their calves, cows, and cowherd friends, with all kinds of necessities. Water for drinking, very soft grass, caves, fruits, flowers, and vegetables. In this way, the hill offers respects to the Lord, being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. Govardhan appears very jubilant. So sometimes we see Krishna as being presented as the Supreme Lord, and sometimes as Haridasya, the best devotee of the Lord. We know Yudhisthira is also addressed as the greatest, best devotee, and also Uttama. But Govardhan is the best. Purport. This translation is quoted from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Majja 1834. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains the opulence of Govardhan Hill as follows. Pani referred to the fragrant cool water from the Govardhan waterfalls, which Krishna and Balaram drink and use to wash their feet and mouths. Govardhan also offers other beverages, such as honey, mango juice, and pilu juice. Suvyasa indicates durva grass used to make the religious offering of argya. Govardhan also has grass that is fragrant, soft, and conducive to the strong growth of cows and increased production of milk. Thus, this grass is used for feeding the transcendental herds. Gandhar refers to the caves where Krishna, Balaram, and their friends play, sit, and lie down. These caves give pleasure when the weather is too hot or too cold, or when it is raining. Govardhan also features soft roots for eating, jewels for ornamenting the body, flat places for sitting, and lamps and mirrors in the form of smooth stones, glistening waters, and other natural substances. So this is from Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's explanation of the opulence. And I also wanted to mention that how wonderful actually it is when we do deity worship. For instance, we know that we're offering the different upacharas, the different scents to the Lord, the water to the Lord, the clothes to the Lord, the fruits, the flowers. So we see here that Govardhan himself is doing abhishek of the Lord. He's providing the waterfalls for bathing the Lord. He's offering the fruits and the flowers to the Lord. He's offering the beautiful um, arrangement of clothing that comes with peacock feathers and leaves and flowers and garlands. He's offering beautiful scents from the fragrance that's blowing in the air. He's offering beautiful sitting places. So here we see Govardhan in being in the mood of service to the Lord and to Srimati Radharani. So now, without further ado, we will go ahead, since this is Govardhan Puja, and it is so very, very important to be able to focus some on the Katha of Govardhan Lila. So I know we started late, there's not that much time, so I'll probably have to just move a little quicker, and you can interrupt me. Let me know when it's getting near that time, because I can't see anyone right now. So fortunately, my friend came over to put me on this phone, so we are getting to get started, and she is here, so it makes it easier to have some company when you're giving a class. So we're going to begin in Vrindavan. So I'm asking all of you to just take a moment, take a deep breath, forget about what you were doing this morning or what you have to do later. Forget about what country you're living in or what nation you believe you are part of. And just come with me to Vrindavan. Come and associate with the residents of Vrindavan. So one day, Krishna and Balaram, they'd been out herding the cows, and it was towards the evening. Krishna had noticed a few days ago that his father and his uncles, that they had gone off in the evening, they hadn't gone home, and they were going to the area where sacrifices are performed. And they were very, very, very busy setting up for something. Krishna is 7 years old at this time. So as they were herding the cows, it came time to come home, and they went by that place. And they said, oh, Ashok thought, oh, look, here is Pita and all of our relatives and all the men. They're very, very busy doing something. They're running around to set up for something. So Krishna knew very well what they were doing. Although he is in the part of a young cowherd boy, he knows everything past, present, and future. And in this particular case, he was thinking, this Indra, he has become very proud by his position, thinking he's a controller. And not only that, he is thinking that he is better than the residents of Vrindavan. And I'm right here. Why is Nanda Baba and everyone thinking that they need to worship Indra? I'm right here. And instead they're worshiping this Devata. So he was thinking, I'm going to teach Krishna. Krishna's thinking, I'm going to teach Indra a lesson because he has become too proud. He's forgetting his position. So he wasn't wanting to teach him a lesson to punish him, but he was out of Krishna's compassion. He was wanting to help Indra to advance in his spiritual life. And for his father and the residents of Vrindavan, he wanted them to only have one pointed faith in Krishna. And that is a message for all of us, that we shouldn't be distracted thinking that our shelter is elsewhere. So Krishna approaches his father. Oh, Baba, Nanda Baba, what are you doing? What is this all about? And his father's very busy thinking, oh, Krishna, he's only 7 years old. I'm not going to explain this. We're very, very busy now. I'll tell you some other time. No, Baba, what are you doing now? I see you're getting ready to perform something. And he's thinking, I'm 7 years old. Last year and the year before, I saw him doing these sacrifices, but I was not bold enough. This is coming a lot from the Gopal Champu. I wasn't bold enough yet. Now I'm going to say something because I'm older. So he was thinking like that. Now is the time. So he says, Baba, tell me, is this Dharma? Is this a Vedic ritual? Or is this some local tradition? Tell me, Papa, tell me. Is this Dharma? Is this a local tradition? No. He's thinking, what will he know? So then Krishna thinks, I have to show him that I'm very intelligent. Krishna says, I actually know a lot about karma and dharma and sankhya. So he starts explaining different things, which we're limited on time, so I won't explain now, but you can look up. And he said, no. And he thinks, oh, actually, this boy is very philosophical. He's starting to bring up some philosophical points. And he said, no, actually, Krishna, we've been doing this in our family, for many, many years. He said, we're of the caste of Go, we're Vaishyas. But there are Vaishyas that do business, or Vaishyas that do training, but we especially just do cow, take care of the cow. This is our business. And because we take care of the cow, we are dependent on having grass. And because we're dependent on having grass, we are dependent of having rain. And because we're dependent on having rain, we are dependent on offering Indra, the king of rain, our sacrifice. So we do this every year. We have this festival to offer respect to Indra. And then Krishna's thinking, well, you're not going to do it this year. Krishna had a whole other plan. So he says, Papa, since you're talking about Dharma, let's talk about karma. So then he presents this philosophical karma mimamsa philosophy. So here we see that Krishna is going to present philosophies that are not true. But because he's Krishna, because he's so beautiful, he's so adorable, because everybody loves him so much and wants to please him, ultimately they'll listen to him. So he brings up a point, actually, it's all by works. If you do your karma, then you'll get the result. Rain is falling on the ocean and they're not doing anything. They're not worshiping, Indra. So if you just do your work, you'll get the result you need. And besides that, everything is happening under the modes of material nature. So what does Indra have to do with that? It's the modes of material nature that are affecting everything. And he comes up with all these different reasons why they don't have to worship Indra. And he's very excited about doing this, Krishna, because he wants Indra to learn a lesson. And he also wants to teach the residents of Vrindavan that you are the most dear to me and I am your shelter. So I wanted to bring up one point here, is that, for instance, we know in Navadvip Dham, in that Lord Nrsimhadev, he's prayed to for protection. But in Braj, it is seen that Govardhan is a protector. Govardhan is one who gives the shelter. And Krishna will show, I am your only protector. Come to me for shelter. So he goes on and on with different reasons. And his father and the other residents are becoming more and more charmed. Okay? He says, I want you to do puja to Govardhan, because he said we should worship three things. There should be three things. We should worship the cows, we should worship the Brahmins, and we should worship Govardhan. We should worship the cows. They're giving us our sustenance. They're providing milk and ghee, and from that we're making so many wonderful different preparations. And the cows are our life. And we should worship the Brahmanas. They're doing worship and sacrifice and protecting us in so many ways. And the Brahmins are our worshipful deities for us. And we should worship Govardhan, because Govardhan is serving our cows. Govardhan is our life. It's where all the green grasses are growing. Govardhan is giving us so much mercy. So we should worship the cows, the Brahmins, and Govardhan. And how should we do this? We should cook many, many preparations: rice, dal, fried sweets, condensed milks, rivers of ghee, multiple sweets, many, many vegetables. There should be many, many different preparations prepared, and all those preparations should be offered, making a gigantic hill. So he's giving instruction. He said, everyone should do this. And then he explains that, and there's a whole procedure. Everything should be offered to Govardhan. Then after everything is offered to Govardhan, Govardhan should be worshipped with lamps. And then after Govardhan is worshipped, the cows should be worshipped. The Brahmins should be worshipped. And then everyone should circumambulate Govardhan Hill. And there's an order even circulation with the cows in the front, the cowherd boys taking care of them, the senior men, the ladies, and then also the dancers. So everyone should be involved and everyone should be circumambulating Govardhan. So he's organizing. Krishna at 7 years old is organizing this whole worship. He's organizing this whole parikram that's going to take place. So it can be said, who started this Govardhan parikram? And it is Krishna. It's Krishna that himself that starts the Govardhan parikram. So Krishna himself starts this Govardhan worship. So meanwhile, what happens is, can you come? It looks like I lost the picture. Can you still hear me? her phone just did something. It looks like we're here.
Yes, Mataji, we can hear you, but we cannot see you.
Okay, she'll fix it.
Okay.
Okay, she just fixed it. Can you see me now?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, she fixed it, technology. Okay, so getting back. So Krishna convinces them, all right, we will do it. We'll do it. We won't take any time to waste. So this Krishna actually convinced them about what they were going to do, actually on the Diwali. And then the next day is when the Govardhan Puja takes place. So it was an amazing, amazing celebration. Everybody brought all these different preparations, an enormous amount of preparations were brought, and more and more and more kept coming, and everything was being offered to the hill. And it was very joyous. Everybody was singing and dancing and chanting. In fact, the women were singing a song. I don't have the Sanskrit, but I will do it in the English. The cowherd women were singing. One woman would sing and the other one would answer. They'd say, who has arranged the worship of Govardhan? He fearlessly assumes the position of Indra. Who has performed the worship of Govardhan? He who killed Putana. Who has performed the worship of Govardhan? He who crushed the body of Trinavarta. Who has performed the worship of Govardhan? He who uprooted Arjuna trees. Who has performed the worship of Govardhan? He who destroyed Vatsasura and Bakasura. Who has performed the worship of Govardhan? He who killed Vyomasura and Agasura. Who has performed the worship of Govardhan? He who subdued Kaliya. Who has performed the worship of Govardhan? He who killed Harsh Pralambasura. Who has performed the worship of Govardhan? He who swallowed 2 forest fires. Who has performed the worship of Govardhan? He who gives fear to Kamsa. So this just festival starts going, and then all of a sudden, your battery's getting low. All of a sudden, they look up, and lo and behold, they see. They look up, and all of a sudden, they see that Krishna is standing with them, but above Govardhan is this very, very beautiful, beautiful form, the most beautiful form that they've ever seen. And they're saying, what is this form? I've never seen a form like this before. Is this form Black Kajal? He looks so black and dark. And then some are thinking, this form looks like Krishna, but he's very big. And they're thinking, who is this form? What is this form? And then all of a sudden there's a thundering voice, and the voice says, I am Govardhan. I am the mountain. Will you plug into mine? I am the mountain. He said, I am the mountain. And then they all offer respects. So here's Krishna, who's non-different than Govardhan, little Krishna, and he's going ahead and he's offering respects himself. And so then Govardhan says to them, I'm not like these other demigods. Because one argument that Krishna had brought up when he was speaking with originally to organize this festival, the one argument that he had brought up was that can you hear me? I'm on someone else's computer now. Her phone went out. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, so the one argument that Krishna had brought up was that we've never seen Indra. How do you even know that Indra exists? We've never even seen him. So then Govardhan appears and Krishna says, oh, look, all these years you're worshiping Indra, he never appeared. Indra thought he was too good to eat with the residents of Vrindavan, so he never ate in front of you. How do you even know he exists? But just see, Govardhan, he's saying, I'm one of you. I'm going to eat with you. So then it's explained in the Gopal Champu how they were just offering mounds and mounds of food. And Krishna had these big hands and he was just taking the food. Govardhan was taking the food and he was just taking it and taking it, and he was putting it in his mouth. And then everything was just flying like birds, and waterfalls were coming, and Krishna was just watching everything, and he was saying to the residents, just see how Govardhan is accepting all of our offerings, how wonderful this is. And so then they kept feeding him, and there seemed to be no end how hungry he was. And he was saying, Anayor, Anayor, give me more, give me more. So if you've been to the village of Anayor, it's named after this pastime. So give me more, give me more. So then they gave him a tulsi leaf, and then he was very satisfied. They gave him mounds of tambula. They gave him water to wash his mouth, and then he disappeared. They're like, did this happen? They were stunned. Who was this personality? Did this really happen? What happened here? They were so stunned. Then Krishna was just very joyous, said, now we must perform the worship. And they go, but how? Govardhan is so big. So then they looked around, and all of a sudden there appeared these ghee lamps like they have when they worship the Yamuna, with big, gigantic ghee lamps, hundreds and hundreds of wicks, and everybody's offering the worship to Govardhan, and everybody's singing and blissful, and there's Kirtan, Harinam, Sankirtan, and he goes, now it's time to circumambulate after the worship. So then they all get in their respective places, and they're getting ready to circumambulate. So, but before that, as I said, they worship the cows, they worship the brahmanas, and they worship Govardhan. So this is very important in our life and in our culture. We might not have a cow right in front of us that we can worship, but we can realize how important cow protection is, and we can actually participate in cow protection if we know there's a particular organization that's protecting cows. We can give a donation towards that to sponsor some nice food for the cows or some shelter. We can offer respects to all the Brahmins within our community, and we can also worship Govardhan. So Krishna said, yes, let us all do. So then they began circumambulating Govardhan. Everybody was involved. There was dancers and music, and it was wonderful. It was this beautiful kirtan. Everybody was so happy. Nobody wanted to go home. Everybody was happy but one person. So meanwhile, in Indra's life, he had a headache and he had an earache. And he called for the Aswini Kumaras, and he said, I've got a really bad earache. I don't know what's going on. And then the Aswini Kumara said, well, it seems that there's some kirtan going on with the residents of Braj, and it seems to be causing you an earache and a headache. So then Indra found out that he wasn't getting his Indra Yagna, that his sacrifice had been offered to the residents of Vrindavan, and they had been convinced by this talkative young boy named Krishna. And these residents had to be extremely foolish that they would neglect worship of him, a great demigod, and dedicate themselves to some foolish young cowherd boy. So here we see the root cause of apara. And this is a lesson for all of us, that no matter what our position is, Trinadapi Sinechano Taradapi Sahishana, Amani Damadinana Kirtaniya Sadahari. We have to realize that we're very, very small, and whatever position we're in is given to us only by Krishna and Krishna's mercy, and it's only meant to be used for him, for his pleasure. But Indra had become proud, and his pride had covered him so much that he had developed this demonic mentality where he decided, I didn't get what I want, I'm going to teach them a lesson, and I'm going to wipe out Vrindavan. So he called for the clouds, Samrataka clouds, all the clouds for the time of devastation, and he decided to send them to Vrindavan. Now you will note here, he told them not to go to Mathura. Kamsa was in Mathura. So without realizing it, actually his mentality becomes so demoniac that he was protective of Mathura, of Kamsa's abode, but he wanted to destroy Vrindavan. He wanted to destroy the residents of Braj. So this is a major, major offense. But we'll see, it has a two lining to it. Because on one hand, we could think this was the worst offense because he wanted to destroy the residents of Vrindavan. But it worked in two ways, because Indra actually allowed his offense allowed for the residents of Vrindavan to have a week with Krishna. When Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill. So, Hare Krishna?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, you're here. When Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill. So I'm back, you can hear me? Okay. So what happened is Indra becomes really upset, and as we know, he sends these rains. So all of a sudden, the residents, they looked up in the sky, and the sky was getting very dark, and the winds were blowing, and there were all kind of inauspicious signs that were being manifested. And then they thought, oh no, we listened to Krishna. We listened to Krishna instead of listening to Indra and doing what we're supposed to do for him. We listened to Krishna. And now Indra has come, and he's going to be punishing us. Kali, do you want to come here for a minute? He's going to be punishing us. What should we do? Hold 1 second, please. See, you're on there instead of me. He said, what are we supposed to do? Okay, now I'm back. What are we supposed to be doing? They were very concerned. What can we do? Indra's going to destroy us. So then they thought, well, Krishna got us into this. We don't have any other shelter to him. So they all go running to Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, what are we going to do? These rains are coming. And Krishna looked and he saw how all the residents, the cows, everyone was starting to shake, and how their whole body was beginning to suffer from the cold, and the winds were blowing. So Krishna said, don't worry, I will protect you. So he lifted up downhill with his left hand, with his pinky. Now that was also to really show Indra something. I'm just going to lift it with my left hand, with my left pinky. And he created an umbrella. And then he said to Nanda Baba, Mother Soda, please come under here. So at first everybody was kind of concerned. How are we going to go under a hill? Krishna's already got us in trouble, and now we're going to go under a hill. So he goes, no, please come under this hill. This hill will offer you all protection, you'll see. And this hill is very light. I'm not even holding it up. It's just floating in the air. Govardhan will protect you. And when he lifted it, it created like a big engraved area underneath. He said, come, there's room for everyone. So in Vrindavan, everything has a way of expanding accordingly. So everything just expanded. So all of the cows and all the residents, they all went in there. Now I wanted to also mention these cows were very nicely decorated. They had like gold-plated horns and silver hooves and beautiful different blankets on. It was a very beautiful sight. So everybody went under the hill, but it explains in the Gopal Champu that Krishna, by his internal potency, it wasn't that they were all just standing there in the dirt. There was like many beautiful palaces within, and places to sit, and jewels, and different rooms, and there was so many different arrangements made. And of course, Krishna is very much involved with etiquette. So there were certain rooms that were given to the seniors, certain rooms that were given to the boys, certain place for the cows. The gopis had their place to be. So everybody was under that hill. And while Indra was pouring his rain and sending his clouds, and during that time, Krishna was teaching the residents in Vrindavan and teaching us. The greatest devotees are those residents in Vrindavan, for they have unalloyed devotion to me. They have no other shelter than me. They have no other interest in life but me. They're only thinking of my pleasure. They certainly don't need to worship any demigod. And he was teaching us, don't become proud like Indra. Always be very humble and meek and tolerant of all disturbances that come. So that is on one level, but then we have the internal level, the level of relationship, the level of rasa. So Mother Yasoda and Nanda Baba, they were expressing their parental love. They were very concerned. Is Krishna hungry? Can I give him some makana? No, Mother, I'm very busy holding the hill. Because there was no hunger, there was no thirst, there was no tiredness. Nothing like that existed once you were under Govardhan. And then the coward men, they're thinking, we have to help you. Let us put our sticks up to help you. And the Krishna's friends, they were laughing. They were just having so much fun. They were thinking, oh, Krishna, he's so fun. He's so great. And the gopis of Vrindavan, it was like finally in the chapters before, in the flute song chapter 21, they were just singing, everybody else gets to be with Krishna. The cows get to be with Krishna. The boys get to be with Krishna. The flute's always tasting the nectar of Krishna's lotus lips. The trees get to offer their fruits to Krishna. The rivers get to wash Krishna's lotus feet. The birds get to sing about Krishna. But we're so unfortunate that we're not allowed to be with Krishna. We have to hide our love for Krishna. But then there they were, under Govardhan for 1 week with Krishna. And like everyone else, they got to see Krishna every day. They got to relish Krishna every day. And sometimes Krishna would look over towards Radharani, and then he would start shaking. And then all the residents were thinking, oh, it's getting too heavy for Krishna. But Balaram, he knew what Krishna was up to. And so Krishna became very embarrassed in front of his big brother, Balaram. So these beautiful pastimes took place for 1 week. Meanwhile, Indra was besides himself. He sent every possible cloud he could, and they kept coming back. What's going on? Is everyone wiped out? And they said, I went down there and they're all under this hill, and everybody's dry, and they're having kirtan, and they're enjoying life. And Indra's like, I'm gonna go myself. If you want to get a job done, just do it yourself. So he gets on his elephant, and I'm gonna pour more water than anything. Then finally he realizes, oh no, I made a really big mistake. I made a really big mistake. This Krishna is not an ordinary living being. He's a supreme Brahman. So like some big person, when they make a mistake, they want to hide it in front of their friends. So he says, oh, all the clouds, everyone, you can go back. I was just testing. Krishna's my brother. As Upendra, he was my brother. I was just testing the residents of Vrindavan. You can all go back now, and everything is fine. So he sends everyone away. He's trying to save his face, and he's like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? So then he goes and he just goes home at first and like locks himself in his room. He's just like depressed. Then Brahaspati, his spiritual master, comes and he's like, you really made a mistake. You've made a mistake. What am I going to do? I tried to kill the residents of Vrindavan, the Lord's family. What am I going to do? He says, well, I think you better go to Lord Brahma. He's got more heads than I do. He'll know what to do. So then he went to Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma said, I offended Krishna. I tried stealing his coward boys. What can I tell you? I offended Krishna. But Krishna loves the cows. So if you take Sarabi, the mother of the cows, and you go and you see Krishna and you apologize to him, then I think he will forgive you, because he's Bhaktavatsal. He's very, very merciful to his devotees. Somehow he forgave me. So then Indra goes to Bhumi, Sarabi. She says, will you come with me? Lord Brahma said, do come with me. I have to go see Indra. And she was like, you've become a person non grata. You're infamous now. I don't even want to be seen with you. She was thinking, I don't want to be logged in with bad association. People should think that I'm friends with Indra. He goes, no, please come. So then she thinks, well, my relatives, the cows of Vrindavan, they're all the time getting to give their milk to Krishna. If I could go and be able to serve Krishna, that would be wonderful. So then she goes along, and Krishna had everyone leave the hill. He put back the hill exactly where it was before. He had everyone go home. But then he went off alone by himself. He goes off alone by himself because if a great person is humiliated in front of others, it's not good. So that's a lesson also. If someone does something which is wrong, or makes a mistake, or offends us in some way, this is not something to be publicly displayed, or the person should not be chastised publicly, but there should be a proper way of meeting and discussing things and having some, what would the word be? Coming to an understanding and to be able to give some instructions, some guidance. So Krishna was very respectful. He had all the boys leave. He didn't want Indra to be embarrassed. And he knew that Indra was going to come. So then he's just sitting there by Govindakund, just like a young coward boy, because Krishna, the original form is Krishna is Brajanandana, just a beautiful young coward boy. And in Vrindavan, he's just relating to being coward boy. And sometimes his Aishwarya, his opulence comes in and does something miraculous, but Krishna's just absorbed in his Lila, in his pastime with his friends. So then when Indra first comes, he starts offering prayers to him. And Krishna is sarcastic with him at first. Oh, Bhagavan, welcome, Bhagavan. So he's a little bit sarcastic with him, and then Indra offers many different prayers to him. And he begs to be able to worship him. So he performs an arti ceremony with him. And again, it's those big ghee lamps and everything. And then he has Bhumi gives the milk and does an abhishek. And then the Aryavata, the elephant, he does rinses with the water. So it's very beautiful, the whole pastime. It's in the Gopal Champu of this different part. But because of the time limitation, I can't go into the whole worship, just giving you a taste to attract you into these beautiful pastimes. So we can see there we're at Govindakund, and sometimes we go there on Parikram, and when we're there, we can just allow ourselves to enter into these pastimes, because Krishna, his pastimes are going on eternally. He is always present within Vrindavan. So Indra becomes very humble. He realizes he made a very big mistake, and Krishna allows him to worship him. At the same time, Krishna is also anxious to be reunited with his friends, because more than the prayers of the great demigods, Krishna prefers the playing with his cowherd boys, his gopis becoming angry at him, his mother tying him with a rope, his father trying to train him. He prefers the loving mood of devotion of the residents of Raj. So Indra becomes humbled, and then he leaves. And when this worship was going on of Krishna by Indra, all the other demigods had come to see this worship. Lord Brahma had come, and they had supplied all those giwiks and the chamrans, and it was a whole big thing going on, like from everywhere, from the universe, demigods and demigoddesses, everyone had come. So then they all leave, and then the cowherd boys were just coming. Where's Krishna? They were coming to look for Krishna. So then they find Krishna, and they said, Krishna, we saw these strange things going on. We saw people with 4 heads, and they were offering you all these things, and what's going on here? What's going on, Krishna? So then they look around, the cowherd boys, they see these big ghee lamps and chamrans. So then they start having fun, and they're worshiping Krishna. So meanwhile, as Indra was leaving, to go back to the celestial planet, he looked down and he saw the cowherd boys playing, doing arti to Krishna. And he thought, just see, when I was worshiping Krishna, he was very serious, but just see how much fun he's having, laughing and joking with the cowherd boys. So then Krishna and the boys go home, and the boys start telling Mother Yasoda and Nanda Baba everything that happens, but they never believe them. They think this is just young boys telling stories. These things possibly can't happen. So we learned from this particular pastime how deep is the love of Krishna for the residents of Vrindavan, that he couldn't stand that Indra was thinking he was better than his beloved Brajabasis. And we learn how Krishna is always trying to make arrangement to fulfill the desire of our heart, because all the devotees, they wanted to be with Krishna and to be close to him. And so he arranges this Govardhan hill so that everybody can have his divine association. And he teaches us about, if you want bhakti, if you want pure devotional service, if you want to enter into the loving pastimes of Radha and Krishna, you have to become humble and take shelter of superiors. So this is so beautiful, these pastimes. And this Govardhan is so glorious. And Krishna said, I want this festival to go on every year, that everyone should honor this festival. Whoever does will be all auspicious, and whoever doesn't will suffer. Krishna made that point. And our Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, in the very early days, you'll see in his letters, he was already telling people the day after Diwali is the Annakut festival. You should make big offering to Govardhan and distribute prasad to everyone. So this is very important too, that everyone should be given prasad. The Brahmins, the devotees, the non-devotees, everyone's a devotee, but it doesn't matter what caste, the animals, everyone should be given the mercy of Giri Govardhan, and that this is a very, very important festival. And because, as we said in the beginning, Govardhan is so beautiful. Govardhan is so glorious. And for ending, I just wanted to, because I don't have time to sing the whole thing, I just wanted to read a couple of prayers, because in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, we find that many of the Goswamis, they resided at Govardhan. Sanatana Goswami resided at Govardhan. Rupa Goswami was there. Jiva Goswami was there. And there's many of the different, when you go on Govardhan Parikram, there's many of the different samadhis there and places of worship. All over Govardhan are the different places of Krishna's pastimes: Kusham Sarovar, Radhakund, Shamakund, Govindakund, Suryakund, just Nardakund. All of Krishna's pastimes are present at Govardhan. So I'm not able to do the parikram today because this class is short, but His Holiness Bear Krishna Goswami will be going online this evening on his page, and also there'll be recording of it, and he'll be showing different pictures and taking you on Govardhan Parikram to all the holy places. So I wanted to read this beautiful prayer, Sri Govardhana Vasa Pratana Daksham by Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. And I'm not going to do the Sanskrit because of the time. You become like an umbrella on the handle of your Lord's arm, thus obliterating the pride of Devarja or Indra, who had become independent, intoxicated by his own majesty. You are without comparison, the great king of mountains. O Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. The youthful divine couple perform delightful amorous pastimes within each and every one of your caves. Thus, since you facilitate the witnessing of their leelas, O Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. Upon your incomparable gem-studded platforms and jeweled thrones, and your broad open spaces, in the shade of your trees, by your waterfalls and streams, upon your crests and in your valleys, your dear Sri Krishna, accompanied by Balaram and all the Sakas, enjoy playful sports. O Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. Upon witnessing the Donna Kelly Lila of the youthful couple who are a treasure house of rasa, you manifested a fragrant, lustrous, black raised platform. Thus you increase the joy of exalted Rasika devotees. O Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. Unprecedented Radha Kund is most dear to Sri Hari and is also your dear friend. Playfully embracing Radha Kund to your neck, you remain hidden there while watching the ever youthful divine couple enjoy sportive pastimes in that secret place. Oh, Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. With your fields, ponds, roots, grass, and the shades of your trees, you nourish the cows at every moment. In this way, you make your name successful and known throughout the three worlds. Oh, Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. Sri Krishna, the enemy of Agasura and Bakasura, showed you great honor, turning you into a new home by holding you aloft, thus protecting the Brajavasis from the deep hostility of Indra. Without delay, O Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. So when I'm reading this, you can also fold your hand and pray along. O Giriraj, your sweet title, Haridas Varya, best of the servants of Sri Hari, issued from the moon-like face of Srimati Radhika. The Vedas have clearly determined you to be the fresh tilak of Raj. O Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. You are absorbed in the metal of friendship and Sri Radha, Krishna, and their intimate associates. It is you alone who bestow happiness upon the men, women, animals, and birds of Raj. Out of your unbounded kindness, accept me, who am full of distress. O Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. The causeless, merciful Sri Satyanandana, who is most dear to you, has offered me to you. Therefore, although I am deceitful and wicked, do not consider my qualification or lack thereof. O Govardhan, please give me residence by your side. One who with careful intent recites the 10 verses about Govardhan Lord, Lord of dynasty of mountains, which bestow rasa, will at once attain joyful residence by his side and the auspicious jewel of direct service to the divine couple. So as we know, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always absorbed in Govardhan. In fact, when he was in Jagannath Puri and he saw the sand dunes, he went running thinking it was Govardhan. And he personally had a Govardhan Shila that he gave to Raghunath Das Goswami and instructed him in the worship. So on this most auspicious day, we'd like to pray to Giri Govardhan that we can all become absorbed in his beautiful pastimes, that our hearts can become purified, that he can give us the strength to carry out the mission of our spiritual master and to bring everyone under the shelter of Sri Vrindavan Dham and the residents of Sri Vrindavan Dham. So I'm so sorry that we had such a late start, and I hope I haven't kept you all too late, and I appreciate your time and your patience, and I hope this has been of some help. I prepared many, many hours, and then sometimes you prepare for many hours, and then what to say, you know, that's unlimited pastimes, unlimited glories. So is there anyone that would like to make a comment or an addition or a suggestion?
Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for, really wonderful class. You did two things. You took us to Vrindavan free of cost in this COVID time. We all went there with not even a single dollar being spent. And also you took us time travel. We went back 5,000 years ago and, we were able to visualize what really happened during Govardhan Lila. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That actually, I'm very happy to hear that, because when I thought about this, I was thinking, what is my desire? And my desire was, we all just need to go to Braj, you know. That was my desire. I'm very happy that I had this opportunity, and I'd like to thank Kalindi, who is here at my house, who came and saved the day, and Aditya Narayan, because Aditya knew that we had tested everything and it was fine before when we tested on his Zoom line. But then when I was having so much problem, he sent Kalindi over here to troubleshoot. So I'm very grateful to both of them for helping me, because I was feeling, oh no, this is becoming a disaster. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So anyone have a comment or questions, please unmute yourself.
Hi, Krishna. This is Krishna.
Haribo, Krishna.
Haribo. I had a question. I was wondering, I think you kind of explained it, but I always kind of wondered about Krishna's argument to worship the cows and Brahmins in the hill, because we understand in retrospect that Govardhan represents Krishna or is Krishna, but it almost seemed like a pagan or like an atheistic proposal to worship the land.
Well, it's interesting too, because it's explained that most of Krishna's arguments that he gave were actually not sound in the Vedas. He was coming up with all kind of arguments. And he was like, well, just worship Govardhan because we're getting our sustenance from him. So yeah, he wasn't, that was the whole point, that he came up with arguments that were not based on Shastra. Like he said, there are different ways of knowing things. And, one of the ways of knowing things is through Shastra, one's through inference, and one through is what you see. So he was saying the way to know things is what you can see, which isn't true. But he said that, and we can't see Indra anyway. And then he gave the karma Maman's philosophy. No, it's just like karma. Everyone's getting what they're getting by karma, and we should just worship, Giriraj, because we're going to do dharma and karma. We should worship that which is sustaining our livelihood. So he gave his arguments were not based sound, but his arguments, he won because everyone loved him so much, and if you want to please me, he said, then do these things. So he purposely gave arguments that weren't sound, and Krishna always has a reason for doing things. Just like if we go, for instance, we can ask, for instance, in Shankaracharya, we know was Shiva, and he was asked to take that role of spreading Mayavadi. So he was giving improper philosophy, but there was a reason at that time. So Krishna purposely gives these different arguments. I mean, when we have time, I could actually read you more, like on a private conversation, I can read you more of all of his arguments about karma and why it's all based on karma anyway, and why it's all based in the modes of nature. And, you should just worship Govardhan and the cows because this is our livelihood and we don't need any demigod to tell us what to do. So he was actually, Krishna at that point was like saying, we don't need any higher powers. But his main point was actually, they're my devotees and they should be worshiping me. But at that point, he wasn't saying worship me, because he was playing that point. But yeah, his arguments they weren't based on Shastra. It's because he was so beautiful and they wanted to please him so much that they became captivated by his arguments. And his arguments were not true.
So it's like he maintained that transcendental illusion that he's not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the Brajvasis don't worship him in the mood. So he came in that mood of reverence. So he came up with this argument that really you should just worship me. But he didn't say it because I'm God. He just gave these different arguments. And it just shows the Brajvasis' love for Krishna, that they don't even have to be convinced based on religious principles. They just always do what Krishna wants.
Because prem rules. Like the whole thing that this shows also in this particular pastime is that Krishna wanted to increase on the more the esoteric, he wanted to increase the prem of the devotees. He wanted to increase that love of the devotees. So whatever he does is to actually increase that, to increase their love for him. And even if they get a hint of his Aishwarya, just like when Mother sort of looks in his mouth and she sees all the universes, she's like, and then it's just, she doesn't want to see it. It's just too much. She doesn't want to see it, When Krishna does something miraculous, they have to come up with the point, well, it's because Nanda Baba, he worships his shalagram so nicely. So actually Shalagram Narayan is the one that's doing all this. So they worship Narayan, they worship Lord Narayan, but they don't see Krishna as being Narayan. And because as soon as there's some Aishwarya, then the prem, it's not to the same extent. Of course, the residents in Vrindavan, nothing can change their love. That's the point. Their prem cannot go down. Like, for instance, in Dwarka, there's some knowledge of Krishna's position. So they love Krishna, but their prema is at a different level. Their relationship is at a different level. But in Vrindavan, it just is what it is, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty of Vrindavan. But Krishna has his pastimes to instruct the importance of actually taking shelter of him, because this is a famous pastime, and most of us are not covered by Mahamaya and not Yogamaya. We're not covered by Krishna's internal potency. So it's telling us, don't put your faith in some other demigod. Don't put your faith in a politician. Don't put your faith in so many things. We put our faith in our own mental speculation, but try to put your faith in Krishna. Krishna is your best friend. Krishna fills all desires of everyone. And Krishna is very talkative, and he likes to play with words. So in this Govardhan Lila, he plays with words, and you'll find in Braj pastimes, Krishna's just crooked. Nothing is straight in Vrindavan. Like when Krishna speaks with the gopis, he's not speaking straight. When the gopis want to say something nice to Krishna, they say something mean. It's just, this is Vrindavan. The coward boys will tell Krishna, I'm better than you. I can beat you up, So Vrindavan is like that. We can't even understand it. That's why we have to just pray to Govardhan, please let me somehow or other purify my heart and let me have some residence at Govardhan, And sometimes Govardhan, Madhavananda gave a class today, which was last night there, but early this morning, which is really nice to listen to. And I couldn't bring in the points today because I want to do the Lila, but he talks about, some of us see Krishna as being the Supreme Lord, and then you see where they say Radharani says that he's the best devotee. So how to reconcile that? And he speaks about that. You can listen to that class. And then there's even some that worship Govardhan. You'll see some that have Govardhan Shilas that are actually, they see as Radharani Shilas, female Shilas. So why do some worship Govardhan as a female? Because when Krishna's having his pastimes, there's some pastimes that no men can be around. So then Govardhan assumes a female form so as to not embarrass them. So these things are like on a very high level. And the only way we can understand these things is by studying the works of the previous acharyas and the commentaries and getting, a view. So the Govardhan Lila, there's many, many layers of it. Like we could start out, we're reading Krishna book and we know there's a big festival and we make a big hill and we give prasadam to everyone. And then we can, as time goes on, go deeper and deeper into the pastimes like that. Does that explain that?
Yes, thank you.
Nice to see both of you.
Yes, you too. I had just a very quick question. The prayers that you read at the end, where do they come from? I didn't catch the name. Where you?
Yeah, you can go on. I was reading from a book, but you can go on. Krishna. Krishna songs, the Gaudiya Vaishnava songs, and the name of the song. I have to get out where I was. It's a Govardhan Astakam. It's by Rupa Goswami. Let me find my place. Okay, Shri Govardhana. Well, there's two different songs. One song which I didn't sing today, you can look up, is by Raghunath Das Goswami. No, this is the one I did sing. I read the one by Raghunath Das Goswami, and it's Shri Govardhan Vasa Pratana Daksham by Shri Raghunath Das Goswami. And it begins with Nija Pati Bhuja Danda. So you can go on Krishna's songs to be able to see it. And then there's also, there's a lot of beautiful, there's another song by Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur, which is really beautiful, Sri Govardhan Astakam. Maybe I can write the name in the chat. It's not my computer, so I think I better not play around or we'll lose it. This is someone else's computer.
I'll write it. By
Yeah, Sri, one of them is Sri Govardhan Vasa Pratana Dasakam, and it's by Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. And if you look up the words, it begins with Nija Pati Bhuja. And then the other one is by Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur, Sri Govardhan Astakam. Oh, look,
Thank you
someone
very
wrote it.
much.
That's good.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay, good. Anyone else?
Mother Krishna Priya, it's so nice to see you, and thank you for transporting us to Vrindavan.
Thank you for coming, Shamala.
I feel so happy. I feel like we're in Vrindavan together today. So I just
I
wanted
know, we used to spend time together there.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, taking the time. There's so many people to listen to that are much more qualified than myself, and I appreciate you taking the time to come online and to spend this time with me. I'd
Hare
like to
Krishna,
really
Mother
thank
Krishna Priya.
Priya for giving me the opportunity.
Hare Krishna, Mother Krishna Priya.
Hare
Can you hear me?
Krishna, I can hear you.
Yes,
So nice to see you.
So nice to be in association. I mean, today is a celebration day, of course, but everyone who knows you knows that your life itself is a celebration. You always contributed your time and services just for pleasing Krishna and serving devotees. So I was so happy to see you, and so thank you so much for taking your busy time out and speaking to us, glorifying Govardhan, and taking us on a virtual parikrama. Nowadays everything is virtual, so thank you for doing that. I had a question, Mataji, and in Krishna's pastime, it's easy to understand because there's always a time given that something will happen. So in Dwapara Yuga, or in Treta Yuga, Hanuman was carrying that stone or the rock, and he was not taken to fulfill the service of being part of the bridge to Lanka.
In Treta Yuga.
In Treta Yuga, yes, in Treta Yuga. So when he was stopped, then Lord Ram said, "Don't worry, I'll come in Dwapara Yuga and then make you glorious by lifting yourself up and all those things," right? So the question I have is about patience. Govardhan could have the patience, and he knew that, okay, I'll have to wait a couple of more years, couple more yugas, and he'll come and take care of me. But we don't know that when will next thing happen, next course of action will happen, and to maintain that patience, that okay, something's happened, we don't really agree with those results, and it's difficult for us to wait for so long to see that yes, God will really come or truth will prevail, all those things. So this was a good example. So I wanted to ask a question about how to develop that patience like Govardhan did from yuga to yuga. We can't even wait a couple of days, a couple of minutes. So if we can share some light on.
I think that's a really good point that you brought up, and it's a point that's really important in our devotional practice is developing that patience. And we're living in an age where everything is always very quick, instant this and instant that, and people actually become more and more impatient because the whole society is moving at such a pace. And yet we know that our acharyas teach us the importance of patience. And one way to be able to develop that is actually to have gratitude that somehow or other I'm come in contact with the holy name. I've come in contact with Krishna. There might be so many trials and tribulations with my service or with my health or with my chanting and so many difficulties, but somehow or other I've come in contact. And so I'm if I just continue with what I'm doing, you know, following Srila Prabhupada, following my Gurudev, continue on the path of devotional service, then all will be glorious, you know, and it's having that faith in Krishna that it's very hard to accept it, but one is taking responsibility that somehow or other I've gotten myself into this situation, you know, somehow or other I've gotten myself into this situation, and I have to tolerate the difficulties and challenges that come. And that also is important, to have good association that inspires us, that can, you know, that we can trust and reveal our mind to, in confidence, to keep the inspiration. I remember I would always tell people, it's just like if there's a snowstorm and it's snowy and icy out, you have to just keep going. You know, you don't want to lie down in the snow. So in my own life, I mean, there's been so many different things that happen and challenges, and I guess I've always tried to keep that mentality that I just have to keep going. You know, I have to do my part, but I can only do my part. And then there's a factor of kripa. There's a factor of mercy that will come. And that in devotional service, that we can't just always live in the future, and we can't just live in the past, but we have to be able to appreciate what we have at this point, and to work from where we are, like have our feet on the ground, so to speak, you know, and have that gratitude, and aspire. We can aspire for certain circumstances. You know, we all hear about when you're chanting the holy name, that Radha and Krishna's pastimes will manifest within your heart, and you can have a spurti. So, you know, we could easily get discouraged that, well, that hasn't happened yet, you know, but am I so offensive? You know, so many things can come up, but then we have to just know that this is not a cheap thing. Devotional service is not, it's just not a cheap thing, and depend on Krishna. And look at all the trials and tribulations Srila Prabhupada had to go through, you know. I mean, we can see amongst advanced devotees, they all had some trials and tribulations to go through. You know, it's not a, devotional service is it's a test, you know. Pure devotional service is definitely a test. But there should be joyous along the way, you know. Like, there's enough austerities that come of their own. We don't need to add to them, you know. And yeah, to have that sense of joy, to find those things in our life that inspire us in our spiritual life, to help us to move forward. Is that any help?
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much. And the part I like that you said, be enthusiastic, be joyous, you know, and having the faith. Yeah, I mean, that's because the situations in current life is not easily explained. So we do get frustrated and, you know, not able to think properly, but yeah, having faith and knowing and good association definitely can help. So thank you. And your association definitely helps. So many, you know,
is your dear wife in the back of the seat of the car? I think I see a little head.
Oh yeah, she is there.
Hari Bosha Janjali, please accept my obeisances. Good to see you. Missing you and the whole family in Gopisha.
Same here, Mataji.
Don't miss us too much, otherwise we'll move back there.
Maybe I'll miss you so much I'll pull you back to North Carolina by my heart.
Thank you, Mataji, again for your time.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can have you come more often to our sessions.
Thank you. I really appreciate the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you, Krishna.
Hari Bal.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, we can close the call. Have a wonderful day, Mataji. We'll see you some other time whenever your time permits.
Thank you for your patience with the getting on the internet. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Mataji.
Hari Bal.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kipasindhyavacha patitanam pavanebhyo.
Jai. Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Mother Krishna Priya ki jai.